Welcome to English Box, Easy English with Julia and Tom. This channel is here to help you build English into your daily life, step by step, without pressure. I'm Julia, and I'm really glad you're spending this time with us today.
And I'm Tom. This is a calm, friendly space for busy people who want to practice real English, not textbook English, just natural conversation you can actually use.
First, we want to say thank you to everyone listening right now. If you pressed play, it means you're making time for English, and that really matters.
Yes, learning English takes patience. Some days it feels smooth, and other days your brain just says, "No more information, please."
Exactly. That's why podcasts like this work so well. You can listen, relax, and learn naturally, even when you're tired or doing something else. In our podcast, we speak slowly and clearly, so you can practice English while cooking, commuting, walking, or relaxing before sleep.
We focus on everyday topics you already understand in your own language. That way, you're not learning new ideas, just new English for familiar things.
Today's topic is something most of us check every day, the news.
Yes, news is everywhere. On our phones, on TV, on social media. We read headlines, watch short videos, and scroll without noticing the time.
Some news helps us feel informed, some news makes us worried, and sometimes we just read the title and move on.
In this episode, we'll talk about how often we check the news, where we get information, and how it makes us feel.
We'll also share useful words and expressions so you can talk about news in daily conversations, simply and naturally.
And if you don't understand everything the first time, that's completely okay. Learning happens little by little.
If you stay with us until the end, you'll feel more confident talking about news, your habits, feelings, and opinions in English.
Before we start, if you enjoy learning English through calm, real conversations, please like this episode and subscribe to the channel.
Your support helps us keep creating practical English for everyday life.
So, get comfortable.
And let's begin today's episode about news together. News in daily life. So, Tom, let's start with a simple question. Do you usually check the news, or do you try to avoid it to protect your mood? For me, checking the news has become a habit. A habit means something you do regularly, often without thinking.
I definitely check the news, but carefully. It's part of my routine, which means the usual things I do every day. If I check too much, I feel overwhelmed and slightly dramatic.
I understand that feeling. Where do you usually get your news from? TV, phone, social media, or some special app that makes you feel very informed?
Mostly on my phone. I use news apps and sometimes social media. Social media is fast, but not always a reliable source. A source means where information comes from.
That's true. I also use my phone, especially for quick updates. An update is a short piece of new information, usually about what just happened.
How often do you check the news? I check it in the morning and sometimes during breaks, but I try not to check it every 5 minutes.
Same here. I usually check the news in the morning, then again in the evening. I rarely check it late at night because my brain needs peace, not breaking news.
That's a smart choice. Morning news feels informative, but night news feels emotional. When do you usually check the news?
Mostly in the morning with coffee or during short breaks at work. That's why we use the present simple, like, I usually check the news in the morning.
Good example. Now let me ask you this. Do you prefer short news updates or longer news stories?
Short ones, definitely. I like reading headlines. A headline is the title of a news story. It tells you the main idea very quickly.
Same here. Headlines are perfect when you're busy.
Exactly. Sometimes I read a headline and think, Okay, that's enough information for today. Long news stories are great too, but only when I have time and energy.
Yes, and a comfortable chair, and coffee, and emotional strength. Otherwise, the headline version is my best friend.
So true. Headlines respect our time. They don't ask for commitment, just a quick look and a nod. News preferences and feelings. So, Tom, let's talk about what kind of news we actually pay attention to. For me, I usually follow lifestyle and social news, things that feel close to daily life.
Same here. I pay more attention to local news. Local news means news about where you live. It feels more relevant, which means useful to your own life.
Exactly. When the news feels relevant, I care more. What about your feelings? How do you usually feel after reading the news?
Honestly, it depends. Some news is positive, like good community stories, but some news feels stressful, especially when I read too much at once.
I feel that too. My reaction changes with the topic. Reaction means how you feel or respond to something.
Are there any types of news you try to avoid?
Yes, very negative news. I don't avoid it completely, but I limit it. Too much bad news can feel overwhelming, like it's too much for your brain.
That's a good word. Overwhelming news can really affect your mood. Sometimes I read one story and think, okay, that's enough reality for today.
Same. That's why I balance it. I read some news, then I stop and do something relaxing.
Do you prefer local news or international news?
I prefer local news because it affects my daily life more. International news is interesting, but it can feel far away.
I agree. And yes, reading too much news definitely affects my mood. That's why short breaks from news are important.
Exactly. News should inform us, not control our emotions. A little awareness is healthy.
Balance is the key.
Thinking critically about news. Let's go a little deeper now, Tom. Why do you think news is important in daily life?
I think news helps us stay aware of what's happening around us. Awareness means knowing what's going on, not living in a bubble.
I agree. News helps us understand society and make better decisions. But do you think people consume too much news today?
Honestly, yes. With phones and social media, news is everywhere. Sometimes we don't choose the news chooses us.
That's very true. Too much news can affect how we think and feel. How do you think news influences people's opinions?
News can shape opinions by the way stories are told. Influence means having an effect on how someone thinks or feels.
Exactly. That's why it's important to think critically. Not everything we read online is trustworthy, meaning reliable and true.
So, how do you decide which news to trust?
I usually check the source and compare information. If many reliable sources say the same thing, I trust it more.
Same here. I also try not to react too quickly. Sometimes I read, pause, and think before forming an opinion.
That's a great habit. Opinion means what you personally think about something, and thinking before reacting helps keep balance.
Balance is key. I want to stay informed, but not stressed, so I limit my news time, maybe once or twice a day.
Me too. News should support our understanding, not control our emotions. In my opinion, news should inform, educate, and encourage awareness.
I agree. News plays a role in our life, but it shouldn't take over our life. Choosing when and how we consume news makes a big difference.
Exactly. When we use news wisely, it becomes a tool, not a burden. And talking about these ideas in English, that's a big step toward confident communication. That brings us to the end of today's episode about news. We talked about daily news habits, our feelings about news, and how to think more carefully about what we read and watch.
Remember, you don't need advanced English to talk about news. Simple sentences like, I usually check the news in the morning to prepare myself for the day, or too much news makes me stressed, are already great practice.
Try this today. Say one sentence about your news habit out loud, or write it in the comments. Small, honest practice is how confidence grows.
If you enjoy learning English through calm, natural conversations like this, please like this episode and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us keep creating useful content for everyday English.
And we love to hear from you. Tell us in the comments, what kind of news do you pay attention to most? Local, international, or just quick headlines? For example, I usually read quick headlines in the morning because I don't have much time.
Keep practicing. One sentence is more than enough.
Thank you for spending this time with us. Take care, stay curious, and remember, English improves step by step.
See you in the next episode.
See you in the next episode.